All right, guys, welcome to another week. What week is this? This is the 32nd week of these live free webinars. Time flies by. I remember when I did my first one, I was like, we'll see where this goes. But yeah, so just as a reminder to everybody, as always, I am pulling up the question and answer. So feel free to use that to ask any questions throughout today. We had 266 people registered to attend today, so pretty good registration for this webinar's topic. And let's see, what was I going to pull up? Here we go. So I'm also going to be sharing the AI group that we run here. This is where I dedicate a good amount of time. Um, my computer wants to send this or not today. Paste, paste, paste. Why are you not letting me? There we go. So that link will give you 7 days for free to all AI courses and webinars and news and all the good AI construction stuff. Cool. All right, guys. So I'm gonna kick it off today. We have more people joining in. We have a lot of familiar faces. Hey, Mike. Hey, Eric. Mark. Ronald. Nice to see everybody today. Another beautiful Tuesday. So I'm going to get all of the Q&A pulled up here. All right. So today I'm going to be showing you guys something that was kind of inspired by two events. The first event is I use this in my day-to-day work literally every single day. So I run this before I get on my meeting with my team every morning, and it goes in and analyzes all of the things that I might not have time to look at. So our project management tool, our email communications amongst the teams, our direct messages, our channel messages, whatever you guys are sending as far as communication throughout your organization. It'll read all of that and then it will basically summarize it. It'll look at my meetings for the day. It'll basically summarize anything important that I need for those meetings or anything I need to prep beforehand. And then it will basically say, here's where you should focus today to move the needle the most based on what you've been working on and what we believe your role is. So it's basically a full level assistant. I still have a personal assistant at our company, executive assistant, whatever you guys want to call it. But she is then now basically doing support for like 80% of her workday, maybe 90%. Whereas before, she had been basically fully dedicated to me and like inbox management and like issue management and things coming in that were important that needed my attention quickly and my calendar and my travel and all of that kind of stuff for different conferences and stuff like that. And even scheduling meetings. And she is slowly not become irrelevant, but like I just don't need her to be doing those things. If AI can do it for free and make me better and make less mistakes and be all knowing all the time and see everything across all the platforms and then analyze it and summarize it and tell me exactly what I need to know as far as, our project management solution telling me there's slippage in a timeline or issues coming up that can only be found in the comments of different areas of our project management tool. All of that stuff's really useful for me as a leader of the organization. And it's stuff that like a human assistant might not be able to see all of. So that was the first thing that inspired today's webinar topic was I use it every day. I came into my morning meeting with the team today, and I was like, "Hey, I see that there's three critical issues on this project with this customer, and is that true? And what are we doing to address it?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that is true." and here's what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, I probably want to jump in on that. So it was able to flag that to me when that was just happening in the background of the company operations as a leader to kind of put some focus there. So that's one way. And then the second was I met in person. I flew to a general contractor's office 2 weeks ago, and I basically went in and just talked to them about what their goals were with AI. And they're like, well, we saw this one guy, he had, this connected and that connected, but it looked a little fragile, and I don't know if it really would work for us. But we would love to have something that's kind of like all-knowing, that's removing these administrative tasks, these administrative processes, this administrative burden that we have across the organization, and kind of just break out some of these things that just feel like AI can do them, but we're just not investing, the resources to get AI to do them yet. So that was the second piece that I was like, okay, this is also somewhere along the lines of how an assistant would operate across all of these different points of data that you guys are kind of collecting in your organization. So I wanted to talk about, how you're able to build out one of these kind of AI personal assistants for yourself, specific to construction. And I also wanted to make sure that this was going to be low risk. Because I think everybody's worried about giving too many permissions to these AI systems, and then something crazy happening, especially when it comes to your workplace. So I wanted to basically get in here and say, let's talk about going from chatbot to a trusted, you know, kind of like team member. I lean heavily on that morning analysis every single day, and I make sure that basically make sure that that thing is able to tell me exactly what is happening, tell me exactly what's going on, and go from there. So, with that being said, let's dive into today's agenda. I also wanted to see if I can run a poll throughout this because last week's poll is pretty cool. Let's see if I can do like open answer. Yeah, here we go. About. All right. So I'm going to launch this poll here. And I want to launch this because so many of you guys come to these webinars, and I've seen you here for 15 weeks in a row, some of you, and you're all quiet. So like I said, I make these webinars for you. I need to know what you guys are thinking. All this stuff is stuff I've already implemented in my life and my business with my team. And I just try to kind of assume what's going to be valuable to you guys. So if you guys could just throw maybe one thing that you thought about, question, whatever it is, that would be really helpful for me to make sure that these continue to be valuable to you. And selfishly to you, I'll literally present for an hour on something that you're specifically wondering about. And I'll do all the necessary research and put the slides together and work on it and get it all dialed in for you. So let's talk, let's get into these slides and let's start ripping through this stuff. So AI can evolve from a simple chatbot to a reliable personal assistant. This requires durable context, safe connectivity, and reoccurring workflows to become a true daily operating layer for construction professionals. So that's kind of what today is about. Taking it from I only use it to ask questions and write emails to basically getting in here and getting it to actually do the work, analyze real data, have real-time insights on my projects. So AI adoption in construction, we've talked about this almost in every webinar. Construction, it basically has a less than 1% adoption rate from a workflow, meaning using it in more than just what a chatbot is. So I don't need to say this again. If you guys have been to previous webinars, I've gone into these in detail before. So let's keep going. So basically, here's kind of like the reason that this one construction company was telling me they want to be leveraging the AI for the admin tasks at a much higher level. They do about 120 million a year, primarily in the commercial space, so not a ton of federal stuff. And they're about like year-long projects, ground up stuff. They do a lot of industrial, but they really want to they want to focus on industrial, but they do all kinds of things, retail build outs and ground up and stuff like that. So, a few of the things that I had from my transcript from meeting with them was one, just hiring, especially hiring young talent right now. They want to be able to attract that young talent straight out of college and have some like young, hungry people that they can train and mold and have for a really long time. The other problem that they had inside their organization is that they had fragmented information. They had like supply chain delays and data access issues across the team. This one person manages this one software, but sometimes the field team needs to know what's going on with these types of documents. For example, a certificate of insurance, only, their controller is controlling that login for that software, but that's the source of truth. And there's just data access issues across the organization. Concerns over securely sharing data with collaborators. So, one of the biggest things was, well, it's going to have all of our data. Where's it going to live? Where's it going to take it? What's going to happen to it? What risk does that present to us? Do we care? Do we care if it has our COIs? Do we care if, Anthropic is able to, process some of our contracts, inclusions and exclusions? We're not working on federal jobs. What is it? 60% of time spent on work about work and constant interruptions. So this is another thing where they just really boil it down to the administrative burdens. So, 60% of time, like going and finding that doc. I got an email. Okay, great. I got an email. I need to reply to it. But in order to reply to it, I need to go do this, go research that, go find this, and then put this together and put it in a proper response and then reply. Like 60% of the day is like all of that searching, researching, drafting, and sending back. Where if you had the right assistant set up for you and it had access across all the data points, you have it go research for you, not only your own documents, but it can go do outside additional research as well. So yeah. Thank you guys that have been answering that question, by the way. It's going to be really useful. Maybe I'll go through them at the end of this webinar, some of them. Building your AI assistant system. So there's three main things, and context, permissions, and reoccurring jobs. The reoccurring jobs is arguably the most important step here because you can set up all the context in the world and you can set up all the permissions in the world, but if this does not happen regularly, it's not going to feel like an assistant to you. Mine runs every morning when I get in. I manually trigger it, but I used to have it triggered to run at 7 a.m. in the morning, right before I get online. And basically, what I do is I just log on my computer, and the first thing that I do each morning is I just type to Claude run sync, and it pulls up the skill that I have set up for it, and it runs through the proper sync of all the proper data sources that I've connected in. So the missing layer is not a smarter model right now. The Opus 4.7 especially, and the GPT 5.5, they're about neck and neck right now. They're the smartest that we've ever had, and they are arguably, in my opinion, like 100 times better than what we had this time last year. So the models are there. These models are intelligent enough to build out full-fledged systems and softwares. So I don't believe that we need smarter models to make this feel like a true assistant. These models are smart enough that it's going to feel like a real person, if not better. Mine feels better, to be honest. I love my assistant. She does a great job. But when I would have her, say, "Hey, I need to fly to this conference for this speaking engagement or whatever it is," then she would go book that and then put it on my calendar and so on. But like, I have my AI assistant do it. My AI assistant knows my address, knows which airport I'm flying out of, can look up the amount of time it takes to travel to that airport, knows the amount of time that I need to be at the airport ahead of time, puts my confirmation code in my calendar event, has the travel time from, where I'm going to be landing to the hotel in which I'm going to be staying, then has the block on the conference, and then all of the conference details are there, what my time slots are, what the exhibit hours are, what the address is, where to find where to go get registered. Like I have it all there to like the craziest extent. So it's even better at this moment in time. So context. Provide durable human readable Markdown documents for memory and instructions. If you guys have questions about Markdown documents, please tell me in the Q&A. I've talked about Markdown documents, I think, for the past like 8 weeks. And I don't know if you guys are tired of me talking about what a Markdown document is or if it's useful for me to explain it each week. But essentially, Markdown documents is just uh, documents full of very plain text telling the AI what to do, how to do it. When you're using these AI systems as assistants, for example, they need context and they need context in the form of Markdown documents. Okay. And this is because Claude Cowork and Claude Code do not have persistent memories. They don't. So, when you log into ChatGPT and you pick up on a previous conversation after closing your or restarting your computer, and it can pick it up right where it left off, that's not a chat. That's a chatbot, right? These systems in which they are able to go do things for you are essentially like operating just off Markdown documents. They do not store this memory or this history anywhere else. So, if you don't have Markdown documents, it's as simple as asking Claude to quiz you to create a Markdown document for the purpose of being your personal assistant. That's it. And then you just go answer its quiz questions. My co-founder Lars, I had him go through and he went crazy with it. I was like 20 questions is at most is probably enough. He went through and did 100 questions. But, the more work you put into it, the more value you get out of it. All right. Permissions. This is where I've unlocked quite a bit of power in my organization. I use Composio. Um, it's spelled C-O. Let me give you guys the exact spelling so you can use the exact tool I use if you would like to. Composio for you. Here it is. I'm going to put it in the chat here. Oops. So Composio is basically a middleman between a lot of these. Gosh, what is going on with my computer today? All right. Well, it's not going to let me paste it to you guys, so I'm going to just show you guys in this tab. Let me know if you guys can't see it. Wow, I don't know what's going on here. It's always when other people are watching your computer, it wants to act up. Okay, so you guys should be able to see this. Composio for you is how I connect in all of my data. Here you can see they have quite a lot of code developer type stuff, but go to Composio for you. It's really, really simple. So you never leave the chat, but it's able to connect in all of your different organizations' data points. And it's also able to give kind of like secure access. You choose what it's able to edit. You choose what it's able to see. You choose if it needs to ask for permission. And it's really, really easy. Could not be easier. They did a great job with this product. So it looks a little crazy from their landing page. I think they could make it look a little bit simpler. But if you click get started for free, make sure it's for you because this is going to be able to allow you to leverage this for yourself and not need a company account. So this comes down to permissions. And yes, ChatGPT and Claude both have built in what they call connectors. Use those if you can, but I wanted this thing to be connected to everything in my work life. I wanted it to know all my meeting recording transcripts. I wanted it to be able to read all my Slack messages. I wanted it to be able to read all the stuff that's changing and shaping in my shared drives in my Google Drive. I wanted it to be able to see all of my emails. I wanted it to be able to see our, project management system and, what notes are being added and where things are standing and what timelines are slipping. I wanted it to see everything and I wanted it to have permissions to do stuff in each one of those platforms. Not all the permissions, but I wanted it to be able to go act in those things. So I had to leverage Composio. Uh, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I had to leverage that to be able to unlock all of those capabilities. The default connectors inside ChatGPT and Claude just don't move the needle enough for me for the, huge kind of like lever I want to pull on this thing. One note, Composio is trusted. I trust it. Do your own research, but don't be connecting it to anything and everything and installing plugins from people you don't know, you don't trust, and that are not reputable. That's how you get in trouble with AI. I think that you can find quite a bit of research from different trusted solutions, but take that with a grain of salt. Do your own research. You should be able to like decipher what's trusted and what's not trusted. It's like going to look on Google and try to find a restaurant. Like you're not going to go to the one that's like a food cart in someone's backyard. You're going to go to the one with, 100 5-star ratings and the pictures look nice, for example. So go do your research. If it looks legit out there and there's a lot of kind of people using it and stuff like that, you should be able to find that information. It's going to be a little bit different. I use this one if you wanted to use what I'm using. All right. And then this is the most important thing. So in order for this assistant to be like really useful for me, I needed it to be able to operate daily on a very specific, workflow. So when I talked to it and I was building out my assistant, I said, here are the 10 things that I've given it access to. You have access to my email, you have these permissions there, I've given you access to all of these things. You would know that because you just set it up in Composio, for example. And once you set up all of the access points, then you can go in and start creating your what would be called like a skill in Claude. And this, you just say, hey, I want to build a skill and I want to call this my morning sync. And when I say run sync, or when I log in every morning or at 7 a.m. every morning, whatever you want to do for this like reoccurring flow, you just tell it, right? So that's that trigger. You're going to set up that trigger, and then you're going to start telling it, okay, the first thing that I need you to do is comb through my email, check everything that's changed since the past sync that you've done, and analyze all of that, update any company history or company documents that are needed for me to be able to fully, understand exactly what I need to take action on right away versus what just needs to be done later in the day. Then I need you to go into our project management solution and I need you to analyze all of the activity that's happened in the past 24 hours and summarize that to me because I want to know how it relates to me as a project manager, for example. Or I want to know all the documents that have been sent or requested or sent back or approved or rejected or whatever because I'm the contracts administrator. So whatever your role is, you can have it go into these different solutions and look for information very specific to you. Especially if you're a project manager, you can tell it the exact projects that it needs to be able to be dialed into. And then you're building all of this into a skill right now, and skills are just repeatable workflows. Also, as humans would call them, and what we call them in our day-to-day life is an SOP. So by saying I want to build out a skill with you, and when I say do this, when I log in every morning or at 7 a.m. every morning, do the following: check email, analyze my email this way, check the project management solution. I care about, projects 1, 2, and 3. I'm the project manager. Make sure that I know everything that's been changing and going on and what, relevant timelines might be slipping or whatever is important to you. Then go into our shared drive, anything related to these project folders that have changed since your last sync, I want you to flag to me just so I have an eye on them. So you basically build out this SOP that it's going to then go execute, and it will create a skill, and then it will create a memory around those things. So mine has a memory that it constantly is deleting and adding from every morning. So when it's seeing, hey, the new status for this, this customer for Contracts Connected is now going from onboarding to fully adopted because they've sent out, 10 contract packages in the past 3 days. That is then deleting out, the fact that one of my initiatives is to make sure that that customer sees success, and then adding in like to a different section, okay, that initiative is now changing to checking in with them every month to make sure they're seeing success, for example. And if you're on, a construction project, it can be the same thing for you, but you basically are just going to be chatting back and forth to create the skill, to talk about what's important, and it will create the memory around that information that it's analyzing, and then update. And by updating, it's deleting and adding text every single morning to a MD document, which is Markdown, that's saved on your local computer, otherwise known, I mean, they're called Markdown documents. And that's what MD stands for, but I always call them memory documents. It's still the letters MD, but I think it makes more sense in the world of this AI stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the limits here. So I'm talking about it now going and creating a memory for you. And this memory is being created in Markdown. AI models often treat each session as fresh, making internal memory unreliable for exact templates or consistent behaviors. Durable Markdown documents provide a persistent, basically human readable found. So these documents are not just readable by code. They don't look like code. Humans can read them. They just don't look pretty to read. And this is going to be your AI assistant's brain. Now, if you really wanted to get nerdy with it, and I don't think this is really necessary, you could use Obsidian. Obsidian is going to basically take your Markdown documents that are just saved as files on your computer, and it's going to turn it into what's called a vector database. A vector database is a way for AI to manage a large amount of Markdown information very efficiently. So I don't know how deep in the weeds I want to get down with vector databases right now. Just know I don't use them right now. Could I benefit from it? Probably. Is it such a big benefit that I want to go set it up? Not yet. But it just is like once you have a vast amount of data, you want to basically be operating in a vector database because Markdown documents, the way that you would create them today, are just folders and files on your computer. And every time you need to it needs to reference those or read those, this AI needs to go find the folder, find the document, read the document, analyze the document, digest the document, and then it comes back to you with an answer. That whole process happens really fast, especially with Markdown. That's why Markdown's so important. But a vector database basically breaks all of these documents into little chunks, little pieces, and scatters them by connections. Okay. And you can imagine, a filing system, like your documents folder on your computer, is very flat, very two-dimensional. A vector database is what we have at Contracts Connected for all of our users' documents, for example. So one general contractor might have, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of PDFs over the course of projects, right? And instead of every time a user asks a question about a document or asks their AI assistant to go find a document, instead of our system having to go read all 100,000 Markdown files and then come up with the answer, it would take forever, right? And we needed a way to give fast answers accurately without having to comb through all 100,000 PDFs. And we basically create a vector database. And a vector database, think of it as like if your file system on your computer or your server is two-dimensional, a vector database is almost like this sphere. It's like four-dimensional, right? And there's all these coordinates all throughout the sphere, all over the place. Some are up, some are to the left, some are to the right, some are down, some are, forward, some are backwards. And this basically, when you prompt the AI to go find something, it will find like one word within this sphere, and then we have the other words kind of closely surrounded with it and coordinates in that three-dimensional, four-dimensional space. I don't know if that's making sense. So if I say, find the find the inclusions and exclusions that we wrote in for the most recent, drywall scope of work that we issued on this project or in the past like 3 years, it'll go find drywall, and then within drywall in the coordinates, it'll find the surrounding coordinates that will then map to the documents that it can go back and search through. So it's really crazy, like to explain, but that's probably the easiest way that I can explain it to you guys is that's what we have built for like all of the documents inside of users, for contracts connected when they want to, reference different things. So they get a very fast, very accurate answer, without having to spend a ton of compute power, a ton of tokens, a ton of anything trying to read through 100,000 documents. Okay. But for AI, all that to say, for AI assistant purposes, I just use files on my computer. Okay. It can read quite a lot pretty efficiently. All right, so let's talk about organizing the memory of this assistant. You're going to create Markdown files. There's going to be a lot of them. There's going to be all kinds of Markdown files. There's going to be project related. There's going to be personal. There's going to be how you like to email, what tone of voice you use in your emails. There's going to be where this project stands. There's going to be, the people on your team, like a file that's saying, okay, I've seen you email like 7 different people on your team. Here's what their, email signatures say about them, and here's what they've emailed about you. So this is my memory about them and like what we would reference for them and what we would invite them to as far as meetings go and stuff like that. All right. So basically, you're going to want to create a bunch of different Markdown documents for your assistant to operate within. Now, I'm going to basically tell you guys right now, it's important for you guys to understand this, but you do not need to manually know to have it go create these different things, especially if you're using Claude. Before I get into the details of this slide, I would like to tell you guys how I approach this in my structure because it can feel really overwhelming, but in reality, what I told Claude was, in a perfect world, I never go read these Markdown documents. In a perfect world, I will just ask you some stuff about what's in them once in a while, and you'll tell me, and we'll adjust it if there's like you gave me a weird answer about something. But since these Markdown documents are not for me, I don't care how it organizes it. And I can almost trust that it's going to organize it for itself to be better optimized, better than I could. Like just because my brain would organize things a certain way does not mean that's how the AI is going to be able to comb through it to the most optimal extent. And there's a lot of theories about best ways to do this. And I just let Claude create its own file structure. Does it make sense to me always when I go clicking around in there? No. But have I ever had to actually go open a Markdown document in all of the time that I've been using this? No. It's not for me, it's for Claude. So I think it's important for you guys to know how this works, but it's not important to have full control and to micromanage and get all worked up and say, well, I have to create this Markdown file structure. That's what my co-founder Lars, when he was building it out for his construction company, was saying. I was like, no, dude, just tell it to create the Markdown structure that it needs to be most optimal, and we'll adjust from there. And one other thing before I get into the slide is Anthropic, the people that made Claude, their developer team uses one Markdown document, one single Markdown document. They don't break it up, they don't structure it, they don't put it into subfolders, they don't have any of that stuff kind of like broken out. They have one shared Markdown document. And that Markdown document, I can only imagine, is miles long. Like they don't do pages in Markdown. It's literally just going forever text that you keep scrolling. But they just have one single document. So it just goes to show you that there's not a right or wrong way to do this. I just let Claude build it how it wanted. But let's talk about this. So it's going to probably create a few different areas or a few different projects or a few different folders. The first thing is like you'll see a Claude folder and this or a Claude.md folder. This could also be viewed as like a home folder, but like basically this is going to be its universal rules, preferred output formats or core objectives like who are you today? You are the assistant of blah blah blah. I'm a project manager at construction company XYZ. This is what I've been working on. You have access to my email. Go read the past, 6 months of emails to get fully up to speed on where this project is, whatever. Then you have role and preferences, MD. So this is your specific work style, priorities, terminology. This is it. You can have it quiz you on things like this. So quiz me about, you know, how my team operates. Any construction loves acronyms, and you guys have your own language of speaking. That took me a while to learn, but have it just ask you about that stuff because no two construction companies work the same, and that's all stuff that you should have it ask you. The daily brief format. So for the assistant specifically, you need to call out exactly what's important to you. There's a big difference between giving it access. When I first started, I gave it access to all this stuff. And I said, go read all this, go get updated on all this every morning and be my assistant and blah, blah, blah. And I noticed that it was giving me such detailed, long responses and a lot of the stuff I just didn't care about, I stopped reading it as closely. So be very specific in what you want it to go report back to you on and what your priorities are. You should be able to give it some sort of example or work through it. Say, give me 10 different examples of a morning brief you would do, and I'll pick the best one and we'll go from there. So then you have like your projects folder. It should be really up to speed on everything that your guys' company is doing from a project standpoint. I believe this is probably the lowest hanging fruit, but also the most important, biggest lever that you can pull for a construction company. So individual project kind of folders here. That's going to be important. And then it should have every morning be able to get up to date via the things that you give it permission to on where those projects stand, what's going on with them, what's the most, recent communication. So it needs to be fully up to speed like an employee would be. And it's not going to be able to get up to speed unless you have it go get up to speed in these morning syncs. It needs to be purposefully told to go do these things. And then you have your travel logistics if you want that decision log. So this is one unlock that I didn't really discover until probably like 3 months into using my little AI assistant that I built. So, a decision log, recording key decisions, dates, stakeholders, and having a historical memory around this. So, I came to this point where I was using this assistant and I was asking it to do things, and I would say, okay, well, like every time you book travel for me, or every time that I send you a booking confirmation or a flight confirmation, do this and like book my travel this way, block this out on the calendar. This is the important stuff I need to see in the calendar because I hate going in looking up my confirmation codes to a flight I booked 3 months ago. And when it's like a day before check-in, and I'm like, where the heck is that thing? So I want it in my calendar event every single time, like just the little details, right? And I discovered that there were some like strategic decisions I was making in the business that it was very in the loop on. How I was managing timeline slippage, how we were pulling on different levers within the business, when we would pull people off different projects to make sure that, we're releasing. We just released our red lines negotiation tool within Contracts Connected, making sure that timeline doesn't slip and that customers are brought into the loop as far as the development process is concerned. Like all of those decisions, it had meeting recordings where I'm talking about it. It had emails where I'm talking about it. It had Slack messages where I'm talking about it. So all of a sudden, it's able to help me better decipher and then go reanalyze like decisions. Right now, we're launching a 2.0 of our platform and we're rebuilding the whole platform to be much like just better all around. It's gonna be crazy, crazy improvements. And I'm really excited for them. But we want to get this launched, within the next 60 days. And basically being able to go in there and analyze, okay, based on decisions in the past, you need to be able to look at this way. This timeline seems good, but I'm going to challenge you in these few places that you've challenged team members before. It has all of your decision-making processes mapped in, and it's able to really like be a team member rather than like a yes, sir. I don't want yes, sirs. And the one thing about the world of AI is it's non-deterministic by nature. And this was a conversation I had with the GC that I visited when I flew to their office last week. He said, "Well, how did you get this? We have an AI assistant doing back office, like basically a contract administrator, an AI contract administrator, fully AI." And he was like, because I was talking about they're non-deterministic, which means they don't make decisions. AI is not like at its core programmed to make decisions. So how do you help it make decisions when you send it an email and it's just an email with like go set up this project? How do you make it decide to go set up that project and what it needs to do? And one, it can be mapped into memory, like just hey, this is who you are, this is your objective, these are your standard operating procedures. So it can just go follow a workflow, follows workflows well. But what about decisions? And I found that a decision log was really important for me to move the needle and have it help me, like when it runs into something that it's never seen before, help it make the decision, the correct decision to move the needle for me personally as my assistant. Um, so one thing after that slide that I wanted to talk about is don't like this should whatever AI tool that you choose, it needs to integrate with your guys' existing suite. So Microsoft, Google Workspace with Gemini, that those are like low friction things, but I would really encourage you guys to either lean into Claude or ChatGPT. So Claude Cowork is probably one of the most powerful tools for people that don't want to learn how to code. Claude Code is what I use. It's just on crazy mode. And what I talked about in last week's webinar was OpenAI, ChatGPT's workspaces and agents. ChatGPT has really done a great job of leaning heavily into making this consumer friendly. So if you want to get up to speed, if you want to get up and rolling, and you want something that's going to be a low lift for you to set up today, ChatGPT is probably going to be your best bet. If you're willing to watch a couple YouTube videos and basically spend a little bit more time getting things set up, Claude Cowork's really going to move the needle for you, I think, more. And although it is probably a little bit harder to set up, it's worth it, in my opinion. But only you can make that decision. Whatever is going to work for you. They're both going to be powerful. They both can save you a lot of time. They both can help you like really leverage your days into really productive moments. But just make your decision probably based off that. Claude, a little bit harder to set up. Watch a couple more YouTube videos, but you unlock more power. OpenAI, ChatGPT, user-friendly, very easy to set up. Might not have a connector to all of the things that you need, but it's gonna provide some value to you either way. All right. So in the morning briefing engine that I run for myself, I've talked really in depth about this whole webinar, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide specifically. But yeah, emails, calendar, chat, project documents, basically combs through every single thing you could imagine. My meeting recordings. Activity in our CRM, activity in our project management solution, activity in our support solution, activity in every single place, even our user analytics. You had this many people in the platform yesterday, this many errors occurred, this many people logged in, this many new accounts, this many new payments, and knows everything. And it's gone far and above, what I could describe to you guys from a value standpoint. But everybody's going to want to see different things in their daily brief. And then once it has the daily brief, you're selfishly you're getting up to speed on a lot of things that you might not see in all of these platforms. You're not seeing every click. I wouldn't be able to go log in and check all of these metrics every morning. But by doing this daily brief, you're also building that knowledge for this assistant to be fully up to speed on everything you're doing in your organization. What you're doing, who you're emailing, what paperwork you're working on, what things you need to get out today, your to-do list, whatever it is. It's then able to take all of that into account. So, oh, you agreed to go speak about AI at this conference. Great. Now adding to your to-do list, booking travel, booking hotel, and here's like three options that I found for you. And I don't even have to tell it, any of that information because all my data is being synced together and it knows what I'm working on, what I'm doing, what I'm emailing about, what I'm booking. So all that stuff can be happening in the background, and that's where you can go really pull on this lever to have it as your assistant because assistants just need to be fully up to speed on everything you're doing to then make your life easier. A lot of people are trying to get AI to do all this stuff, but not bringing it up to speed on what's going on in their day-to-day operations, and without bringing it up to speed on fully everything, knowing every single thing about what's going on in the organization, all the projects. It's all written down anyway. It's all being said in meetings with like 10 meeting AI meeting recorders anyway. All of that data is being captured anyway. Just connect it into a place, run the sync, have it build its memory, and then it will be much more powerful to you. So let's talk about like what we can do to make this low risk to you and not open your guys' self up to too much exposure here. So connect only the minimum necessary sources that you want to connect. Don't just give it access to everything just because. Be purposeful. And then read heavy before write heavy. So start with summaries, retrieval, draft generation. And this goes to, let's say you're using Composio. You can basically say you have read-only access to all my stuff. And then you could say, okay, well, there's three different levels of permissions, read-only, ask for permission, and always allow. You could start with read-only on all these, then you could change to you can do these things, you can make these changes, you can write these emails, you can make these updates, but ask for permission. And then you can have it set to always allow if you really trust it, which I've I'm guilty of going in and changing everything to always allow. But I have different things baked into my SOPs or what we call skills in the AI world for it to ask for the proper permissions. Approval at boundary, so human review for all external email sending, payments, final commitments, like anything that's risk associated, you want to make sure that you have the correct permission gates there. Source visibility, so utilize systems that provide citations or links to original sources, just making sure AI is not hallucinating when you're asking questions about your stuff. You can actually have it go source those things and say where it found it and where you can find it, or give you a link to the place in which it found it in the software. And then leverage platform security encryption, data retention controls. So things like ChatGPT have a very easy setting where you can go say, hey, you have zero data retention on my information, my documents, my Markdown, whatever it is. So they're not able to save or store those or use it for training. All right, so let's talk about the first steps, and then I want to probably look at some of these questions that you guys submitted and maybe talk about them out loud. Define one specific assistant domain, daily operations brief, whatever you guys want. Create the controlled working space for a project for your assistant. All this means is go create the folder in your document section in which these markdown documents will live. Because when you go to create your assistant, you're going to need to have a space for it to go save its documents. And it's going to create markdown documents. And we've talked about that a lot. But you need to give it a folder in which to go save that. Then just have it start creating its own markdown document. Say, hey, I'm going to build out an assistant. This is what I want it to do. This is what I'm going to want to connect it to. And then you can go ahead and connect those things afterwards. And then say, hey, let's start building this out. Run a sync based off the instructions. And you can adjust, tweak, go from there. Okay, update the sync to do this, update the sync to check that, and so on. So that's kind of what we have, and I wanted to make sure we had enough time. You can go ahead and submit your questions and answers here as well. Um, if I sparked up any questions, but I'm going to pull up this. All right, so I have a few questions here that were submitted by some attendees. So, limitations on federal projects is a great one. My co-founder on contractsconnected.com, which is my full-time job, I just do these webinars for fun and for free to share my knowledge and what I'm building with different construction organizations. He actually operates a construction company as well. He had a federal construction company for 15 years, sold it to a native organization, and then couldn't get enough of it. I think he's addicted to construction for some reason, but he started a whole nother construction company, and they're doing federal work right now. They're under the CMMC requirements, and he actually went and bought a computer that he's using just for like personal use in order to kind of leverage some stuff, but you have to be very careful to not kind of dilute your CMMC compliance. The beautiful part about MD documents is they live on your computer. They aren't uploaded to the cloud. They are being accessed through an API if you're using Claude, for example, but you have a lot more control over your data and your files. And if you really, really wanted to, you could run a LLM locally at your, these construction companies have closets with servers in them. Put a computer in there that's just going to run the LLM for the company, and then you never go to the cloud, and then you could be fully CMMC compliant if you really want to leverage it. All right, we got another question here. The best first task to implement for your team as a whole, not involving checking emails. So what I would say is I think that the best access point is this like 60% of work is focused on, you know, going and searching and finding and looking up. I would almost recommend for every company to go. You guys have these AI brains already developed. You don't even know it. You have your servers full of files. You have, your project management solution full of historical information. You have your accounting system full of historical information. You have like emails. I know you said not emails, but all of this stuff is written down documentation, just blasted all over the place. Different softwares, different folders, different computers, different email addresses, whatever. That stuff is like the core of your company. It's everything that your company's ever done. And the reason I want to say unlock that is it's easy to connect all this stuff in. It's easy to then analyze all this stuff. But like, okay, maybe like searching for a PDF doesn't sound exciting to you. That's fine. But what Claude can infer off of all those PDFs, if they're all, kind of like mixed together in one place, about business decisions, about lessons learned, about where we went over budget, why we went over budget, why things went off track for a specific project, like those types of insights and analysis can really deeply happen and like be able to be leveraged across the organization for the future. And I think that that's like the lowest hanging fruit because you don't need to get somebody to adopt anything at your organization. You don't need to like buy a whole new software solution for this. Like it's just a matter of connecting the data and then just finding different ways to leverage it. Find the inefficiencies across our organization. Like you have all of this access to all of this data. Or, if you do need to go just find a PDF and it was just not saved in the right place or named correctly, like that could save someone, 2 hours just by itself. If you go through an audit, if you're a federal contractor, like all that stuff, this is like really useful kind of like leverage. You have this AI brain already associated. And if that's not sexy to you and that doesn't excite you and that doesn't motivate you, um, I would recommend just picking a workflow that just sucks for you personally and then building that out. But for the team as a whole, you guys can really leverage a lot of this. Um, all right. Can this provide a daily summary and some analysis of the day's construction activities? Yep. You just need to have it connected. My project management solution, it tells me what every employee did in the past, like since its last sync. Since your last sync, here's your team members, here's the activity that they've done. For you guys, it could be vendor related, for whatever it is. You can ask it to analyze it, slice it, whatever way you want. It just needs to be connected, and you can use some of these third-party connecting tools like Composio for that kind of stuff. Um, Best process to select the team member or how to group tasks to automate with AI. What is the best decision tree for this? Okay, so this is a great question because this is exactly I mentioned I went and flew to a GC's office and was talking deeply about this. And they're like, yeah, we have all this administrative burden. We want AI to automate all of it. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it this way. So what they're doing right now is they're creating a spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet, they listed out all of the possible processes that they believe AI can fully automate. Cool. I said, with all those processes, you need two columns. What is like the lift? So high, medium, low in terms of how much time, how much effort, how many clicks does this take to get done? This process that you say can be automated. And then what is the value that it brings to the organization? High, medium, low, right? So when I then go back to them and we now say, okay, which ones do we want to tackle first? We're going to now look, what is the thing that is taking the highest amount of effort, but's producing the lowest amount of value for the company? Let's get those off. If it's taking somebody a long, long time to do something that's really low needle moving for the organization, let's get that done first. And that two columns is just in an effort to prioritize all of the different things that they want AI to do. Okay. Once you do that, once you have your first item that we're gonna tackle this one, I told them now we need to do subtasks, right? So I don't want to know that the 85 clicks all up front that we need to do to tackle this. Because if we try to build something that's supposed to do 85 clicks to do one process in a construction organization, everyone's going to get frustrated. No one's going to believe in it. It's going to take so long to fix it. It's going to be impossible. So in that one task, let's break this down into really simple, very straightforward steps. Step one, step two, step three, step four. I don't care if it's 30 steps, right? But we're going to then approach this in a step-by-step basis because we can go troubleshoot a step. We can go troubleshoot where it's got stuck. We can go troubleshoot that, like step 34, it made a mistake, or step 34, it got stuck, or step 34, it got lost, and we can improve the SOP around that step. But when you're trying to manage this 85 clicks all in one go, one prompt, one MD, one skill, then you're just asking yourself for a headache. So I hope that helps, like how to basically decide what to attack first, and then when you go to attack it by steps and build out a skill for each step, and then basically can call upon the next skill when it's done, call upon the next skill when it's done, and continue moving forward. That's going to be your best way to be able to actually troubleshoot, move the needle here. Um, yeah, so I think that we're coming up on time. There's some more questions in here, but I'm going to use these as inspiration for future webinars. So thank you to everybody that put their questions in. Um, yeah, it's great. So I'm going to probably do some more of these polls, just kind of sitting out there while while I'm talking and yapping your ears off. So that's kind of it for today. I use again Composio. If you guys really want to leverage AI in your life a little bit more, I highly suggest you go check out our Skool group. The Skool is where I have all of my courses, and I post about AI news daily there as well for the construction industry. So, yeah, if that is all we got today, I appreciate everybody for coming by and saying hello on this beautiful Tuesday. I'm going to get back to Contracts Connected, where we're making some really big moves for the paperwork world of general contractors. We have our AI analysis for certified payroll almost done. We have our AI analysis for certificates of insurance, where we're building out specific agents for both of those. And then we have our fully autonomous AI contract administrator kind of in a test mode with two companies right now. So she's doing cool stuff. It's really exciting to see. It's an exciting time to be in construction. Thank you guys for being part of the future thinking group of the construction world. And if you guys need me, you can find me at contractsconnected.com. Alrighty, I'll see you guys next week. Till then, take care.